Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to Wish We Were Then. This is the show that's been doomed to repeat history so that you may learn from it. Every week, we go back in time to a different year. We talk about all of the wonderful, amazing, unbelievable, incredible other adjectives that describe how cool things are that go on in that year. My name is Trey. I'm joined by Mark. How are you, Mark? How was your week?
It was definitely eventful back in the year that we traveled back to.
It was a hairy year. There's a lot of shit going on.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on between like sports is cool too. Like, and then a lot of classic TV shows came out, and I didn't stop taking notes, shaking down paper boys. What's going on? You tell me
Listen to
what's
you.
going
You
on.
you give me everything in that bag right now. I gotta. You can just take one. They all say the same thing. I'm not hearing any of your crap. Give me the whole bag. A lot of people. A lot of people were concerning themselves with the number one movie of the year. It kind of popped up in a couple different places of my research. You know, it permeated multiple things. Big movie this year. One of my favorites that we've covered. I think.
Classic movie. One of my favorites too, probably, especially after rewatching it.
Yeah, I've seen this one so many times that it's like actually I was watching it earlier today, and we'll get into it. But it was like, man, I've seen this so many times that I have no tension left in me after like for this movie. It's old hat.
Yeah.
Speaking of the movie of the week, it's got a very famous monologue in it, like really great. One of my favorite parts of the movie. We got it right here. We got it on tape actually. I actually never noticed until I rewatched it how well it fit with our show. Actually, let's press play on that. A lot of men go their whole lives wishing they were then, but few have the means to make it so. Even fewer have the guts to follow through with it. Two men go into a time machine. Time machine goes into the past. Movies in the past. Sharks in the movie. Shark with black eyes, like a doll's eyes. Shark that'll scare the pants right off of you. At one point, I turned to my mom, who I was watching the movie with, thinking she was scared stiff. She were sleeping. That's the thing about moms, Chief. They fall asleep during movies. 67 million Americans go into theaters that summer. 67 million come out. But only two of them then went into a time machine, came back to the present and tell you all about it. This is the tale, Chief, of 1975. I never noticed how specific all that shit was.
Yeah, that's weird, man. I didn't
I could have sworn he said
even
something about the
after.
Indianapolis and
Yeah, and I thought there was like other like men there for some reason. Something about a life jacket. I don't know.
I guess there's only people going into theaters.
Yeah.
You learn something new every time you watch a movie, you get a little extra things that you didn't notice before. That's the beauty of going back in time. Maybe they cut it on DVD. Maybe that's why. Like when you watch it nowadays, that scene's been removed and changed. They keep doing that, you know? They always do that. George Lucas always changing the Star Wars movies. Spielberg's changing Jaws around, changing the monologue.
Yeah, we would never do anything with our powers of going back in time to change anything. So don't
It's on
don't
record
even
that we
ask.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got for the news this year, huh? We got some fun stories.
I got one big one, and it's actually outside the United States. On April 17th, Pol Pot took control of Cambodia, thus
Mm.
ending the Cambodian Civil War. His guerrilla war army seized the capital of Phnom Penh. The new regime ordered a complete evacuation of the capital, and millions of residents were forced to leave on foot under armed supervision. Hospitals were emptied, families were separated, and thousands died during a march of exhaustion, illness, and execution.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's over his years of being the dictator, he killed 1.5 to 3 million people, were executed in labor camps and starvation, or died of disease, effectively killing a quarter of his entire country's population.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's a pretty ineffective leader, I would say.
Yeah. Yep. He died in 97.
Wow, he lived a
But
lot longer than I would have thought.
yeah, he was ruler for till 94, 95.
Shit.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. Everything I've ever learned about Pol Pot came from the dead Kennedys. Holiday
Yeah,
in
what's up?
Cambodia.
Yeah, that's the first time I heard Jerry Brown. I was like, "Who's that guy?
They actually
Who
did have a
who
lot of.
who are they talking about?" And then he ran for governor when we were growing up. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Well, he actually was governor back then too.
No, yeah, but I didn't know that until he
Yeah,
ran for
yeah,
governor again.
right. Yeah, but no, he actually comes up in another story here that I got. Jerry Brown's actually going to pop up in a story I have in just a moment. I just want to touch on briefly something else that occurred that was also overseas, but something we were a little more involved in directly. On April 30th, the fall of Saigon occurred, and that's the South Vietnamese capital. North Vietnamese forces overtook it and basically drove out all of the rest of the American troops that were stationed in Vietnam. So this was us basically losing the Vietnamese War.
I know that it was a like botched operation. I didn't look a lot into it, but I just know that it was just us leaving, and we took hundreds of thousands of South Vietnamese people with us because they were just doing everything they could to flee
Yeah.
before North Vietnam came and just took everything back over under communist regime.
Yeah, this was the end of an era for sure. I mean, it's crazy how much Vietnam War really like dominated everything for the last 10 years at least, you know.
Yeah,
Eh, Basically every time we do a 60s year or the early 70s, we have something to say about Vietnam.
yeah,
So, although we did
absolutely.
kind of, screw the pooch a little bit on this whole deal, something we shouldn't have been involved in the first place, a lot of people say, at least it's over now. Glad to finally be rid of the damn stuff.
Yes,
And
for sure.
I think we've covered now basically every year the Vietnam War took place in. So I think we're done with it too. We can dust our hands of the whole thing for the time
That's
being.
kind of nice.
Yeah, tired of talking about Vietnam. Let's see. Let's get on to this other news story I have that involves Jerry Brown just a little bit. He wasn't like super duper involved in it. Just he came up, we mentioned him, and I remembered reading about him in one of these stories. September 5th, President Gerald Ford visited Sacramento. Essentially, there was like a lobbyist group in Sacramento who wanted to have Jerry Brown come in, who was the newly elected governor, but he kind of dilly dallied a little bit and didn't really give them an answer. He didn't commit to going. So then they're like, all right, fuck you, man. We're going to invite the Republican president instead. And he showed up. So it was like a political move to, just sort of ice Jerry Brown out a little bit because he was a Democrat. But so
Okay.
Ford gets to the Capitol. He's going over to go meet with Jerry Brown. He had just given like a big speech at this event that he had been invited to. Now he's going over, walking over to meet with Jerry Brown. On the way over there, he's confronted by Lynette Squeaky from. She is a member, or was, now it's kind of disbanded, but she was a member of the Manson family, one of his followers. She had a lot of environmental concerns. Gerald Ford was cutting back on a lot of like regulations that have been put into place over the past few years. And he was sort of allowing there to be a lot more industry moving forward, which tons of environmental groups were really against. And so she thought the redwoods were going to fall down because of smog and all this other stuff. So she thought, I got to put an end to this. So she gets about an arm's length away from Gerald Ford and she has a gun with her. She raises the gun, points it right at him, and pulls the trigger. She failed to chamber a round, though. So it just clicked.
Noob.
she, they didn't use guns too often in all their murders that they took. They did. They were mostly knife folks.
Tell me you didn't practice without telling me you didn't practice.
Years later, she would say it was intentional, like subconsciously, that she had actually like ejected the round in her apartment because she like didn't really, in her guts, wasn't ready to do this. But that's hindsight. I think really he just fucked up. But when she got tackled by Social Security, when she got when she got tackled by the Secret Service, she said it didn't go off. Can you believe it? It didn't go off.
Yeah, she was like happy it didn't go off. Well, you don't have to live with
Uh,
a dead president on your conscience either, I guess.
yeah, I guess. She did have to get life in prison, however. That was her punishment for
Jesus.
this. The Secret Service started to carry him off and like walked down the road with him a little bit, and then he started yelling, "Put me down! Put me down!" So then they like let him go. He walked to the Capitol building, met with Jerry Brown, and didn't mention the fact that he just almost got shot, and like got through all of their business. And then like an hour later, then he finally told him like, "Oh yeah, I just almost got killed a second ago." It's like, damn. Like
That's
straight
crazy.
to business. Yeah, I was like, you're kind
Yeah.
of a thug. I didn't know that. Jerry, I didn't know Jerry Ford did it like that.
He was probably in some kind of war. He's old enough to be.
He was quoted as saying after the fact, "I thought I'd better get on with my day's schedule." That's why he just kept going about his day and didn't bat an eye at it, just like a G. So I don't know how good he was as a president, but I know the man was gangster. She got sentenced to life. She spent 34 years in jail and was released in 2009. Now, this is where it gets interesting. 17 days later, still in California, September 22nd, President Gerald Ford is visiting San Francisco. There's a woman named Sarah Jane Moore. She had an illegal handgun charge the day before. The cops caught her with a gun that she wasn't supposed to have. They confiscated the weapon but let her go. So that morning, she went out and bought a .38 special, and she stood across the street from a building he was coming out of, about 40 feet away, raised the gun, fired. But because it was a new gun, the sights hadn't been adjusted and they were off. She missed him by about 5 feet from a 40-foot away with a .38 special. I mean, she was a pretty good shot. You know, to be pretty damn close to hitting his head. She missed him and got the building above him. A man named Oliver Stipple, who was just a bystander, he grabbed her arm and didn't let her aim it again at him. She fired off another shot. It missed. Ricocheted, hit some poor guy in the groin, but he lived.
Oh no, the groin of all places.
You know, right? When you hear the groin, it makes you wonder: is it the specific part of the groin? Are we being polite? You know, or is it just like the inner thigh? Yeah. Did he get his pecker shot off, or did he get shot in the upper thigh? You know. Oliver Sipple was like regarded as a hero. You know, everyone started reporting on him. The news found out he was gay, and then outed him, like in the news broadcast. They're like, "Gay man, Oliver Sipple does this." His family didn't know he was gay, so they all disowned him. It's like, damn, that fucking sucks. Are you kidding me? The guy's a national hero, and because he's gay, you don't love him anymore?
That sounds like something the news would do. Like, hey, wait, there's a story inside of this story. Let's use that because that's
Yeah.
good publicity.
Yeah, that sucks, man. I was like, really just shitty that, you know, gay people were still treated like that in the 70s. Like, damn, man, he's fucking...
Yeah.
Like, not even just that, like, his community or he lost a job or something. Like, his parents are like, "Oh, we're not proud of you anymore." Like, really? What is the thing that you could be the most proud of a boy for doing? You know what I mean? Save the damn
Right.
president. She was also sentenced to life, was released in 2007, right before Squeaky. They are the only two women to have ever attempted to assassinate a president. And they both did so in the same month in the same state. Seems weirdly coincidental, huh?
Damn.
Well, I have a little bit of backstory on Sarah Jane Moore that really intrigued me, and it was one of those things that I could not find enough information to feel satisfied about. That she had been an FBI informant prior to this at Randolph Hearst's People in Need, which was a charity that Randolph Hearst, you remember the Patty Hearst story of her getting kidnapped? One of the things that the like kidnappers argued about was Randolph Hearst wasn't, he like, you know, was basically killing poor people through negligence and shit like that. So he had to start this foundation to kind of appease them, the kidnappers. She started working there as an accountant, and then she started informing on them to the FBI. There's not a whole lot of backstory as to how she got involved with the FBI, what her capacity as an informant was, but she had been evaluated by the Secret Service earlier in 1975, and they deemed her not a threat to the president. All of that's really, why did you evaluate her? Couldn't figure out what they were evaluating her because of, how they deemed her not a threat, and then she'd go on to be the biggest damn threat you could be to the president. She worked with the FBI. A lot of stuff that's, you know, this is right after another assassination attempt. Just looks a little strange to me. A little coincidental.
That's super weird. Yeah, too coincidental.
They couldn't find a good motive either for her. The only real motive I could track down that she had ever given was in 2009, after she had already gotten out of jail and fucking 34 years after this occurred, she said that she wanted to spark a violent revolution in order to bring about change in America.
Why would that just now, like, all of a sudden be her? Why wouldn't she say that before?
Yeah.
Why is she just now saying it in 2009 when she could have, like, been like, Viva la Revolution? Like, that would have been a lot more of a statement than, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was the only other thing I could kind of find was she seemed to say a couple times something to the effect of her time as an informant had been up like a month or two prior to this happening, and that she was thinking the government was going to have her killed, or they were going to tell the people that she was informing on that she was doing that and that they were going to have her killed. And so she was kind of like, all right, well, fuck it. If I'm going down, I'm going to take out the president with me.
Damn, that seems a lot more logical.
Yeah, it still is just the fact that these both occurred same state, same month, very shortly or after each other. I don't know. It just seemed kind of convenient, you know?
The deep state's like, we can't let this guy. Who invited this guy here? He's not even supposed to be president.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh,
They're
we didn't have any control over this.
They're like, that wasn't supposed to happen. Somebody kill him. Get one of these girls to do it. She's working for the FBI already.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like to editorialize too much. I just lay out the facts, and they're always fucking screwy, aren't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard not to read into them a little bit. Oh, and after this, in October, this was kind of neat. Ford began wearing a bulletproof trench coat when out in public. I was like, that's
cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. Like, this guy gets more and more gangster as time goes on. Fuck, he's cool as hell.
Right? It's like a Kevlar raincoat.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. Yeah, I saw like a picture of it, just like a normal ass trench coat, and it was like apparently bulletproof. I was like, damn, that's so sick. Why isn't that in every movie?
Yeah, seriously.
I just thought the Kingsman and stuff, you know, they'd totally be like, here's James Bond, like all that shit. Like, what? That's never even in fantasy, like adventures, you know?
Yeah, the government won't let Hollywood reveal all of their secrets.
It's true. Yeah, the technology to make a bulletproof trench coat is just too secret, too
it's
precious.
It's like Kevlar. It's probably, especially at the time.
Yeah, for sure. All right, with that, we're gonna go ahead and turn on over into the grocery store. We're just outside of the newsstand, shaking down newsboys for all of their newspapers. Let's go inside the grocery store, see what they got that's new on the shelves.
I have one, Pop Rocks.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it came out in Canada, actually, and then later released into the U.S. in 1976.
That's cool. I didn't catch that one on there. That's pretty neat. Pop Rock. Here, I got some right here. Listeners, I had a mouthful of Pop Rocks. That's a cool one, though. That's kind of a neat thing. I guess that feels pretty 70s, like very, like cutting edge technology in food that would have been neat back then. I would have assumed, though, probably an 80s treat if I had to guess, if I hadn't known.
Apparently, they have been working on it for like 12 years. So it wasn't like a straight through thing, and then like a few other people picked it up off and on.
That's funny. It's like, I don't know what the technology that goes into it is. So, I guess, sure. It takes 12 years to make rocks pop. Let's see. There were a couple of gums that came out. I don't have any fun stories behind them, but Freedent, I feel like that's not around anymore. Maybe it is. I don't know. It's like one of those old gum brands that there are a lot of dents, Dentine, Trident, Freedent.
Yeah. I feel like I remember that one.
Yeah. I feel like they were in paper packaging, like paper little wrappers, little squarish ones.
Yeah, like rectangles.
And then Big Red Gum would come out. My mom loved Big Red Gum my whole life. She doesn't really chew it anymore. But she used to when I was a kid. She would always chew that gum, and I would be like, "Do you have a gum?" And she'd hand me one of those. I'm like, "Ah, it's so spicy." It's a really weird thing to want to have spicy gum.
It's like those like hot tamale candies.
Yeah,
That's what it reminds me of.
Those were a lot hotter to me. Yeah, but yeah, I didn't really like any of those things. I like spicy stuff. Just that hot cinnamon was a lot.
Yeah, just a lot of cinnamon. I don't know how like spicy it is.
Yeah, I haven't had one in a long time. I kind of wonder if I'd like it more now that my taste buds have been killed by years of smoking and drinking. It's an adult gum stuff. Yeah, all the Mexican food I've had over my life. On March 10th, Famous Amos Cookies opened up. First, they were like a brick and mortar establishment. I thought that was kind of neat. Like they're,
Okay.
now it's just little bags of cookies. I never would have assumed they were like a proper business at one point. But they were started by Wally Amos. He was a talent agent, and he would send his homemade cookies to celebrities to like try to get them to sign and to meet with him and stuff like that. And it worked. Like they all liked his cookies a lot, and it made him super popular. It made his like talent agency successful. And he actually got a $25,000 loan to start the business from Marvin Gaye and Helen Reddy, like two
That's
really
awesome.
popular recording artists of the day. Yeah, I was like, damn, those are some fucking great cookies, I guess. I feel like over time they might not be as good as they once were, or just all cookies were terrible in the 70s, because I don't love Famous Amos.
No, I feel like I just don't like super dry cookies. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
it's
want
they're
to
like
eat a cracker. Like
yeah, they are very biscuity, like I feel like they're like British cookies or something. I would have assumed they were from Great Britain.
yeah.
They're very like they should be little biscuits. You had to chomp them in half and stuff. But I said
Dip
I
them in your
like.
tea because they're all fucking hard.
Yeah, exactly. But again, they were a fresh baked thing back then, so I think that just over time, like mass producing them and stuff, they figured out a way to make them cheaper, and eventually the quality goes down because of that.
Yeah.
The other big food thing I have here, this one was pretty cool. Miller Lite came out across the U.S. It was first released into a couple test markets in 1973, but only of like 3 cities. One of them was San Diego. There were a couple big cities, but it didn't hit most places in the U.S. until 1975. It actually is the first successful light beer launched in the U.S. There were a couple prior, but nothing that really was national or on a big scale. Miller Lite is like the first real light beer that did well, and then encouraged a bunch of other brands to start doing it, like Bud Light and stuff like that.
Oh hell yeah.
It first was just a company called Lite. They were just Light Beer, Lite. And then Miller bought that company, and so Miller was making light beer. They didn't actually get called Miller Lite until 1998.
Oh what the fuck?
Yeah, so the rest of the time it was just Miller's Light Beer, Light Beer by Miller. And then it finally became Miller Lite, like during our lives.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah, pretty weird,
Never
huh?
knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why like the cans, like they've kind of gone back to the old school cans recently where they just say light on them. They don't say like Miller. Like you just know that Lite, the classic Pilsner looking bottle and everything is like
Yeah.
synonymous now with that. So they kind of reverted back in last couple years, but yeah, it still's Miller Lite though.
That's super cool. No idea.
Yeah, pretty neat. Well, that's all I got for food. So, shall we mosey on over from the grocery store into Best Buy? Just kidding, that wasn't around
Yeah.
in 75. Actually, I think it was. We talked about Best Buy opening up a really long time ago, and they were a music store initially. So, let's go in and
maybe
look at the music stuff, and then we'll walk over to the electronics store afterwards.
Radio Shack. Radio Shack's around, right?
Probably. I don't know. We got to do a better job of this, I guess.
All right. Moving into technology, on April 4th, Microsoft was founded by Bill Gates and Paul Allen in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It was just like a very basic like processing and like coding unit, really. But it wasn't like there was no screen, there was no like
user interface.
User interface or anything. Yeah, so it's super basic, but this is when they started the company.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't really look into them too much, but I saw that they were originally micro-soft. Instead of just Microsoft, it was Microsoft. And I was like, this is just begging for dick jokes. And now it makes sense. Shit, my whole life. I'm like, why is Bill Gates just like so proud of his tiny, tiny, flaccid penis? Let's see. We got in November, Betamax launched in the United States. It debuted in Japan earlier in 75 in May, but in November came over to our shores. It's one of those things that like I always heard tell about how the Betamax was like actually a superior format to VHS, but it just didn't. One of the things that people talk about a lot is like, well, pornography chose VHS, and that's why it outperformed Betamax. And That's kind of a lot of times the way that I don't know. I remember seeing that in some
Interesting.
movie. Yeah, some movie was talking about like anytime that any one of the formats that porn backs is the one that does better. I think the same thing happened with HD DVDs and Blu-ray, kind of.
Blu-rays were super popular.
Yeah, HD DVD, like because Microsoft, hey, talking about them, they're the ones like back in HD DVD, and Sony backed Blu-rays. And then I think I mean, this again, this is just some weird thing I remember hearing in a movie, so I don't know how much truth there is to it, but it was that like the porn industry backed Blu-ray, and so HD DVD, I mean, porn's gonna back Blu-ray. We're not gonna back the thing that's Microsoft. You know what I mean? We want mega hard, so they went with Blu-ray instead. But anyway, Betamax, it did have higher resolution than VHS, but it only had an hour of recording capability.
Oh, so you could have
Whereas,
put a movie on it. No
yeah,
wonder Ford was
exactly.
using it. You got to jack it for at least 2 hours.
Can't get a proper session in 60 minutes. Are you kidding me? Well, I was just getting going. I just, I just left the Microsoft part of my life. They did eventually release a new model that had like a half speed mode, so you could record 2 hours, but then it also halved the resolution that you had. So they really just were like, not fully able to compete with VHS, mostly just because of the time frame. So VHS, you could record sporting events easier.
Hmm.
I guess yeah, at that point you could probably be recording movies off of TV because they'd show a lot of movies on TV back then.
Yeah, that was a big thing for years with VHS. Was recording stuff off of the TV. Like that's how people got like movies.
It's crazy that you can't do that anymore. And now it's not like nobody gives a shit. I guess you just I can't find those movies, and it's like you used to just be able to record whatever you wanted with like little to no oversight.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
just they just asked you not to. You know what I mean? Please don't record
That's
this. We all know you can.
that's how I yeah right. That's how I watched the first South Park or the movie, I should say.
Oh yeah, yeah. The like
Yeah,
on a recorded
we had
VHS.
yeah we had to skip over the commercials of it.
That's cool. Yeah, that's fun. Sony was the one making Betamaxes. They kind of relented and started making VHS models in 1988. So they finally like admitted defeat. Like they were holding off and like, no, 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 Betamax is gonna work. And then they held course for 13 years. And then finally like, all right, we fucking lost. We got to start making VHS recorders. Betamax recorders were sold until 2002. You could still get one, and they kept making the tapes until 2020.
Holy crap!
Yeah, it was a long time. You could still be Betamaxing out there. I guess there were people who were still like, listen, I'll just use two tapes. All right. I like the higher resolution that I get. I'll just, I'll take a break from my jacking session halfway through to change tapes over. That's fine. All right, let's see. Let's move over into video games. I have one that I wanted to talk about. This was one of the areas that I was talking about. There were a lot of like tie-ins to the movie Jaws. Spoiler alert, that was the movie we were referencing earlier when I was talking about sharks and shit. Uh, there was a game that came out called Shark Jaws. It was by Atari, kind of. Nolan Bushnell was like the one who wanted to do it. We've talked about him a lot on this show. He was the founder of Chuck E. Cheese and Atari and all that shit. He tried to license the Jaws name to make this game, but they wouldn't allow him to do it. So he made the game anyway and just put the word shark in like tiny letters and the word Jaws in all caps, like huge on the cabinet. So it was like Shark Jaws,
That's awesome.
That it really like felt like should be bringing it up at all. Like the interesting thing about the game is that this is actually the first commercially released movie tie-in game. Even though it wasn't official, it's the first time anyone made a game about a movie and then like released it more than just like their friends or whatever. This is what started a whole industry of making tie-ins games. But they Nolan Bushnell was afraid of like legal retaliation for, going around the studio's back and everything on this. So he released the game under the name Horror Games. It was like a fake company. This is the only game they made was Shark Jaws, but he was just like, I don't want Atari to go down. We'll just make a shell company, and Horror Games will be the ones who like take the brunt of the attack
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Universal.
it's a good idea.
It kind of worked out. And then, yeah, like I said, it did spark a whole industry of making hastily made shitty games with familiar characters in them, you know? Let's see. Let's move over from video games into toys. I have one really fun toy that came out this year. Just straddles the line between being a toy and being just a fucking object. But the guy who did it made a lot of money off of it. In August, the Pet Rock would be released into the public. It's like such a weird part of cultural history that the Pet Rock was popular. And it was one of those things that like you heard a lot about like nostalgically as a kid. Like, oh, remember in the 70s, the Pet Rock, everyone had to have one. Are you familiar with this at all?
Yes, I remember. Like I've heard it referenced before. I don't know why anybody would think that that was a good idea or not. Or did they buy them, or was it? I thought it was like a joke. Like, oh yeah, I have this pet rock. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, no, they were like an actual product. It was this guy like was at the bar with his friends and they were all talking about like their pets and all the stuff that comes along with pets, all the responsibilities that you deal with and all that other shit. And then he kind of jokingly was like, "Oh, you should just have a pet rock." And then he just decided to actually do it. And so he made like little carrying cases and he put some like hay or something in there for them to have a little bedding. And he like for some reason sourced the rocks from a beach in Mexico. I don't know why he couldn't just go out and grab them himself, but he was actually paying for the rocks, like had them delivered to
That's
him.
so weird. Why would you
I mean,
like spend the capital doing that
right?
when you could just
You could even just sell the carrying case and then just be like, you fill it with your own rock. But yeah, he'd have it in there like bedding, and then he had little air holes cut in the side of the box, so it was like a little carrier and had a handle on the top. So it just was like they're kind of funny. Like all of the packaging that goes into it makes it a fun product. Actually, it wasn't just a rock sitting there. It was like it's in its own little thing, and it came with like an instruction booklet about like oh, the longer you have your rock, the more loyal it'll become, and like it knows how to sit, how to stay, how to play dead. That's like its specialty is playing dead. It was it was pretty much only a 6 month fad. It actually was discontinued completely by February of 1976. So from August of 75 to February of 76, and in that time he sold about 1.5 million pet rocks.
dude? Talk about a get rich quick scheme.
Yeah, he fucking he just came up with a dumb idea, became a millionaire within 6 months, and then just got out the game. That carrying case, like that's the fun part about it. If you just have a rock sitting there, then there's nothing special about that. But if it's got its own little house, well, now it's a pet. Keep it away from wind and water, running water. You don't want
Yeah,
to
right.
erode it.
Don't drop it from real high. Be all
Don't feed
right.
it after midnight.
All right. Well, let's move on to the sports. It's our next big category. We start off with the champions of this year. Kick it off the World Series. It was the Cincinnati Reds. The Super Bowl champions were the Pittsburgh Steelers. The NBA champions were the Golden State Warriors. And the Stanley Cup champions were the Philadelphia Flyers.
Hey, that's a fun team. We don't talk about too much.
Yeah, that's true. I was like, yeah, another one for the States. I'm like becoming a hocky fan
Yeah.
just for these, like the
Just us
American
versus
teams.
Canada.
Yeah.
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 That's fine. I have another Philadelphia sports team story, but it's not going to come in the sports section.
Okay, okay. On April 8th, Frank Robinson became the first black MLB manager. He was the manager for the Indians, and on the first game that he managed, he actually played as well, which I didn't
Oh,
know
that's
you.
cool.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, damn.
And then on his first time at bat, he had a home run. I didn't even know that managers could do that.
I don't know. That's got to be something they like put into the rules after the fact or something like that.
Yeah, they're like, "What the fuck? This guy just hit a home run. You can't let him do that shit."
That's fucking crazy. I guess yeah, it's like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's really weird. I mean, it's like, the team captain's on the team. I don't know. It just seems yeah, like well, I guess why would that preclude you from being the manager just cuz you're playing, you know?
That's a good point. Yeah.
I don't know what would be the conflict of interest there, but yeah, it's crazy. You don't ever see that.
On May 26th, Evel Knievel crashed at Wembley Stadium in London.
Mm.
He was attempting to jump 13 buses on his motorcycle. And he cleared the buses. I watched the video. He
Oh
cleared the
yeah.
buses, but then like when he hit, he like got launched like off his bike.
Oh
Like
damn.
almost like his shocks or something were like bad and it like just like kicked him from the bike. He broke his wrist and fractured two vertebrae and his pelvis.
Eesh. His groin. A lot
Yeah.
of groin injuries this year.
Afterwards, he told the crowd, quote, you people will be the last people to ever see me jump because I will never jump again. I'm through.
Damn.
But fast forward to October 25th, Evel Knievel would do it again. And he
Oh
would jump
shit.
14 Greyhound buses this time.
That fuck. Those feel like those are bigger than school buses too.
Right? And he landed it this time. And it was over 130 feet.
Damn. What a cool time in our nation's history that we all like cared about a guy jumping over buses so much, you know? You just don't get that kind of shit anymore. Yeah, that's super
we
cool.
all love Nitro Circus. What are you talking about?
That's true. You're right. Very cool. I really like that though. That's a really neat story. I mean, that's crazy that he just was like, I'm never doing that again, and then immediately was like, I'll give it another shot. That's wild.
Yeah, and he broke his pelvis of all things. There's no way by October. From
yeah,
May to October.
Just to ride a fucking bike after that much time would be like, all right, this is kind of bumpy, you know? Not loving the way this is feeling on the old groin. A lot of groin talk this episode, huh? We don't usually talk about this much. Microsoft, groin injuries. There's a lot of shit going on about between the legs. I got one more sports story. This is a big year for sports, I guess, huh? October 1st and kind of September 30th here based on the way that the time zones work. But October 1st in Manila, in the Philippines, the Thrilla in Manila would take place. One of the greatest boxing matches of all time, most people say. It was the third and final confrontation between and Muhammad Ali. There was like a lot of, stuff that Frazier's team kind of went through beforehand to make sure it was more or less like they were trying to make it as fair as they could be. They secured a Filipino ref instead of the ref who had reffed Ali's last fight because Ali was like known for holding his opponents behind the head and kind of like grabbing the back of their neck so he could lengthen the time that they were like tied up, wear them out too because they're like kind of fighting to get out of it. So that's kind of like a way that he sneakily like, secured some of his victories. And I watched this fight, and he does it a fuck ton. It's actually kind of starting to annoy me, honestly. And the ref was super good about every time his hand went back there, he'd fucking smack it off real quick. Hey, don't do that shit. And he would tell him, like, stop grabbing the back of his neck. But the entire fight, he kept doing it. And I was like, that sucks. I kind of wish you were just in there fucking, pure boxing and stuff instead of trying to, like, wear the other guy out with, like, non-boxing moves, It went for 14 full rounds. Frazier's team stopped the match at the end of the 14th round. His face was just like pummeled into a big balloon by that point. He just like couldn't see anymore because his face was so swollen. So he wanted to keep going, but his team was like, no, we can't let you back out there. But Muhammad Ali at the end of the 14th round asked his corner to cut his gloves off. He was done. And they were like, no, you got this. Like they convinced him to keep going, and Frazier's team convinced him to drop out. So they were like, basically they both were done at the same time almost. It's just that Frazier his team gave up for him first.
Damn.
Fight. I would say that Frazier was boxing better the whole time. It's just worn out by the end of it. They were really fucking trading blows. It was a really, really good fight. They're really going at it. But he just did the damage that needed to be done so that Frazier couldn't keep going. It wasn't like he was spent. He just couldn't see anymore. And you're not going to be able to box like that, obviously,
Yeah.
But another cool thing about this one is that HBO, by broadcasting this fight, became the first television network in history to deliver a continuous signal via satellite. It was like pretty changing for television history also. A bridge to walk over into TV land. all the shows we're going to talk about were featured on TV Land, I'm sure.
Definitely when we were growing up, a lot of these were.
Yeah, I don't know if TV Land's around anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so.
This is a fun top list because number one, the entire year. We always say TV ratings start over in September, so you get half of one year and half of the next one. Well, the entire year, All in the Family was number one, and then the second and third place, in the first half of the year, were Sanford and Son and Chico and the Man. In the later half of the year, those shows that took second and third actually debuted in 1976. So for the entirety of 1975, the top three were All in the Family, Sanford and Son, and Chico and the Man. Number four was a debut program. The Jeffersons would come out in 1975.
This is probably like the only real show that I watched, sitcom, I should say, I watched that came out this year. All the other ones I
Yeah.
really didn't recognize.
There are a couple that I know of but never have seen. Barney Miller.
Or watched. Yeah, Barney Miller was one of them.
Yeah, Barney Miller. Welcome Back, Kotter is another big one. John Travolta's early show, and then One Day at a Time. But the only one I was really familiar with was The Jeffersons, but I never really watched it. But I put it on the other day and I watched the first couple episodes. And I was like, this show's really funny. I like this show a lot. It was really good.
Yeah, I remember watching that one on Nick at Night. One show that we talked about not too long ago came out this year, not in the United States, Faulty Towers.
Oh, yeah, we've talked about that a couple of times. That's funny. I've seen the first couple episodes of that show before. We've talked about it. I was like, not, just ain't hitting for me, you know?
Yeah.
Live debuted in 1975.
Yeah.
I've seen the first
Did you ever
episode
watch
of that.
movie?
Yeah, the one that came out recently where it talks about their first episode.
Yeah, that was cool.
Another show that came out, this is another big one. I've never seen it, though. I've only ever seen the movie version with Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson, but Starsky and Hutch came out in 75. I assume it's less comedic than the Ben Stiller version, but I like the movie. Show that I watched for the first time this week was a cartoon. There weren't a lot of kids' shows. The first time was Frady Cat. I recognize the cat, the character of him, but I definitely had never seen the show. It wasn't great. I like the premise of it a lot, but the show was kind of annoying. It's this cat who every cat has 9 lives, but his past 8 lives are all dead, and he's on his last life. And anytime he says a number between 1 and 8, the ghost from that corresponding ghost will come and visit him in whatever situation he's in. So like he's dealing with a scary junkyard dog, and the dog's like, "Oh, you got to do this for me." And he's like, "Well, that's one thing I'll never do." And he's like, "Oh no, I said 1." And then like a caveman cat comes and is like helps him through his troubles or whatever. And he says, there's another one that's like a pirate and a different one that's like a cowboy. So just over the years, every one of his lives that has been spent is a different character that comes and helps him out.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like the premise a lot, but it was a very tedious show. The whole time he's just like, well, there are 3 guys following me. Oh no, I said 3. And it's like, dog, if this is your whole life, you think you would fucking figure out how to stop saying so many damn numbers, You're terrified of it. You're just, everything. This guy's always on edge. Like, come on, man, fucking tie a string around your finger or something like that. You got to remember better.
One big show that came out this year that I'm pretty sure everyone watched, at least maybe not this version of, but definitely the newer version. Wheel of Fortune premiered on January 6th. The one that we watch isn't like the original.
Yeah, a lot of these game shows have had that happen to them, like Jeopardy and other shit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. Let's go ahead and move on over into the record store. It's fucking amazing. All these stores are lined up right next to each other. This has been really beneficial to our show today. We just get to walk from one store to the next. We're going to go ahead and talk about music that was on the Billboard Hot 100 chart for the year-end 1975 list. You can follow along via the playlist that is linked in the episode description or in our Instagram bio. We talk about the top 5 performing songs.
All right. Number 5 is My Eyes Adore You by Frankie Valli. I have to say, this is not one that I recognized. I mean, obviously I know who Frankie Valli is.
This actually was recorded by the Four Seasons. This was Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons together. So they're on the whole song. Actually, one of the Four Seasons is singing the last chorus, even. So it's not even Frankie Valli like the main singer throughout this song. But Motown, their record label, like refused to release it. They just thought like this is not a Four Seasons song. They just turned them down when they tried to release it. So Frankie Valli bought the masters to it. So now he owned the rights to the song. He went around and shopped it to a couple of different labels, was turned down by two of them, then finally got to Private Stock Records, who the owner only wanted to have it be Frankie Valli. He didn't want the Four Seasons on it for whatever reason. Weird choice to make, I guess. I actually don't know why. It kind of that was the way it was presented, was that he didn't want the Four Seasons on it. I would have to assume it's because the record label was involved, but it just said he didn't want them on there. So it was just a Frankie Valli song. But this was his first solo number one. Be the Four Seasons. Nobody just wanted it to be the Four Seasons. Like
Yeah.
the rest of the world forced his hand to go off solo, I guess. But they kept making music together and would come out with another couple hits beyond this. So he was concurrently doing a solo run with still being part of the Four Seasons. So I got to give him props for that.
Yeah. That's cool.
All right, let's see. Number 4 is Before the Next Teardrop Falls by Freddie Fender. Now, this is a time where don't know the song, but definitely don't know that guy, Freddie Fender. That's a funny name, huh?
Yeah, I've never heard of that guy before. That's definitely a stage name, but
yeah.
I've never heard of this guy before.
Yeah, I think that his given name was a little too exotic for audiences at the time to be trying to pronounce.
Valdemar Hertura.
Huerta.
Oh.
Yeah, that H I think is going to be for a lot of people. They're not.
They would have
pronounce
just said it
that
the way
H.
I did. They're like, who
Yeah,
the fuck
exactly.
is that guy?
Huerta. So yeah, it's like that. They were like, Freddie Fender sounds a little bit better. You play guitar, right? This song actually was written in 1967 and recorded over 24 times before it came to Fender. So this was like a kind of old country standard by this point. Not old, but it was something that had been around for a while and had been recorded by a ton of country artists. Artist and Song of the Year at the Amusement and Music Operator Association's Jukebox Awards, which all the time doing this show, I never heard of that. Honoring the most played songs on coin-operated machines in the U.S. So which, it's like a People's Choice Award kind of, That's like different than requesting a song. You're putting down your hard-earned quarters for it, which back then was not nothing.
Yeah, definitely. Number 3 is Philadelphia Freedom by Elton John. I think when I first heard the name, I did not recognize it, but after listening to it, I'm like, I've heard this song for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm like a big Elton John fan. I didn't really recognize it. I'm like, maybe I know this song, but it's not that good. So it's sort of one that's easy to just like, I don't focus on those Elton John songs,
No, I don't think it's that great.
Written as a favor to Elton's friend, Billie Jean King, tennis player. We talked about her pretty extensively in 1973. She had the Battle of the Sexes against Bobby Riggs, where the man that he was just a chauvinist pig, and he was
yeah.
So she was very, very into supporting LGBTQ rights and stuff like that. Elton John, obviously a gay man. Billie Jean King, I was like, oh, so was she a lesbian? She has come out since then, but at the time, she was actually married to. This is where the King comes from. Blew my fucking mind. She was married to Larry King.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was like, damn, that is weird. What a fucking unsightly couple, huh?
Man.
Billie Jean King played for the Philadelphia Freedoms. That was the team that she was playing for in the World Team Tennis League, which was like, I guess was actually kind of a big thing in the tennis world for when they weren't like, they didn't really have a league like other sports have, Tournaments weren't, that was just when they weren't playing these tournaments, they didn't have anything to do. So this league was formed where actually there was like equal footing given to men and women in this league. So teams would be comprised of both. And like actually like all the biggest tennis stars have played in it. Like John McEnroe and the Williams sisters have played in this. And it actually went on for a long time, but folded in 2022. Her team was the Philadelphia Freedoms, and they needed like a theme song. So she cranked out the lyrics, but didn't really make it about tennis. And they were like, "That's good. It's got to be about the spirit of Philadelphia, not about the team." But man, just listening to the lyrics, like God, Bernie Taupin fucking sucks at writing lyrics. He really is awful. You know, he's so bad. And it's so funny because Elton John's like amazing. He's such a good like presence. He's like a rock star, and his lyrics are always trash. Always, you
Yep.
know, it's just that he is so good that you don't really pay attention to it. But sometimes if you listen to some of the songs, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, why are all your songs about
Yeah.
living on a farm? What the fuck is this shit? So yeah, I didn't love this one too much. But another interesting thing about this song is that the B side to it when it was released was "I Saw Her Standing There." I put it on the list. I ended up throwing it on towards the bottom because I was like, I don't love putting two Elton John songs. But the interesting thing about this one was that he was playing "I Saw Her Standing There" with John Lennon. They did a little concert together. They played 3 songs. This was the last song they played that night. And it is actually the last time John Lennon would have any concert appearance.
Damn.
So the final concert recording of John Lennon is "I Saw Her Standing There" with Elton John, the B side to this one.
Damn. That's crazy. All right. Let's move on to number 2. It's Rhinestone Cowboy by Glenn Campbell. Definitely one I've heard before, but never in good lighting, for lack of
Hmm.
better terms. I feel like everybody's always making fun of this song, basically. It's
Oh
always like a
yeah, I like this
butt
song.
of people's jokes. So I just can't take it seriously.
But I guess I didn't have too much connotation wrapped around this one. Like it's not something that I have like a lot of context with. I guess like I just heard it throughout my life, but not a whole bunch. You know.
Yeah.
But I really like this song. I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, I also really didn't like country when I was younger, and now I do a lot more. So this is something I kind of was hearing it with fresh ears. Like I know it's something that I've heard but never listened to, you know. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's definitely my favorite from the top 5.
It's definitely the best song on the top 5. That's hands down for sure.
Now this is the second country song we've talked about so far in the top 5. But this would be one of 6 songs this year to top both the Hot 100 and the country singles charts. So country was really big this year. I mean, it would not be like that again until like the 2010s, you know? This was the height of country crossovers. The other ones were
it's crazy.
Song, obviously, we talked about a moment ago, and then Convoy. I like that song. Thank God I'm a Country Boy and I'm Sorry, both by, and then another Somebody Done Somebody Wrong by BJ Thomas. So yeah, there were 6 different songs that top both of those charts.
Damn, that's cool.
Is Love Will Keep Us Together by Captain and Tennille. This song, well, it's probably the most well-known song from this year, I would say.
I know it. I recognized it right away. Not a song I've heard like that wasn't in reference to like a movie or something.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those that a lot of older songs we find that about, especially one like this where it's so time stamped. It's music 2 years later didn't sound like this anymore, you know? All the funny honks and boops and shit like that are going on this one. It was actually first recorded by Neil Sedaka in 1973. Sedaka? Recording version of it was by a brother and sister pair named Mac and Katie Kissoon, which hit number 12 in the Netherlands. So that's the first time this song ever charted was them in the Netherlands. Weird song to be singing with your sister, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a little weird. I mean, it's not like it's explicitly anything, but it's also like you're not talking about like brother and sisterly love in this song. Like it is supposed to be romantic, I think.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
We see Donnie and Marie are on this top 100 with a song that's also a little romantic feeling for siblings. So it was just a weird thing in the 70s to sing sexy songs with your siblings. For record of the year, though. So I thought that was kind of surprising. Sort of a funny song, and I thought it would be not critically loved, but yeah, it did well.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of competing songs and music that came out this year that's could have taken it, I feel like.
Mr. Daryl Dragon. We've talked about him before. What a fucking cool name that is,
Yeah.
Daryl Dragon. Name is so cool. He had to come up with a pseudonym because he's like, no one's gonna think my name's Daryl Dragon. Gotta come up with something funnier. The Captain, Captain Dragon. He played everything on this song except for the drums.
Damn.
And you know, I listened to the Neil Sedaka version and the Kissoon version of this song, and then I listened to the Captain Tennille one again, and I was like, oh my god, this song fucking slaps compared to those. He is like a very talented musician, and I was like, you know, you just kind of go like, what the fuck is the Captain doing here? You're like, oh, he's no slouch, man. He's like playing everything on this song, and it sounds pretty badass actually. Like with those hearing the other versions of how the song could have sounded, and then hearing all the production he put into this and all the crazy instrumentation and shit, I was like, actually, I like the song more now. It gave me a better appreciation for it.
Damn, that's pretty cool. I had no idea.
I kind of just thought I always assumed he was just like a keyboard guy. I didn't know he did everything. Yeah, it's pretty virtuoso.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's it for the top
All right.
five. Let's see what else we want to talk about from this list, eh?
I mean, there's a lot. I will say, "Fame" by David Bowie hits number 8.
One.
We talked about him not always charting like super
Mm-hmm.
high, just because he's kind of out there kind of music, but he did do good with this one. This makes sense though. This one, "Fame," is very. It's even like kind of disco-y,
Yeah.
like with the times, you know.
Yeah, this is he had just kind of glam rock. I'm like super into the glam era of music. 71 to 76 is really where it is. But he and Elton John kind of ditched glam rock at this point, and he stopped doing it before everyone else did. He got out, like he set the trend, and then he got out before it died off. And that's when he started finding more chart successes, when he kind of started doing just more pop music as opposed to trying to do some weird glam rock shit, you know? Even the album cover, he's not dressed up all funky and crazy anymore. He's just wearing a suit.
Yeah.
Favorites here, number 13 on our list, Kung Fu Fighting by Carl Douglas. That's such a classic song. Did really well. Novelty songs like that, you never can tell. Like, oh, were they actually popular in the day, or they just are like a funny thing that people have held on to over the years? Like this one was popular back then, and
This is a great song though. This is like fun and funny. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And we've talked about before how popular kung fu was throughout the 70s. It was like a novel thing.
it's true too.
And like there's some mentions of karate in the movie of the year too. Some very
Oh
brief
yeah.
mentions of karate. But underneath that, that's a great song. One of my favorite karaoke songs to sing. I have that one on vinyl. I have a lot of this on vinyl actually from this year. The next one at 17 by Janice Ian, I got that on vinyl too. There's a ton of
Oh
this shit
yeah.
that I've collected over the years. A lot more from the underneath the Hot 100. I'm pretty sure I have this 10cc record too with "I'm Not in Love," the original soundtrack. It's called. So this is one of my favorite years for like weird music. I have a lot of this shit. Uh, another one here that I'm looking at that I also have on vinyl. One of my favorite songs from the year for sure. Number 45 on our list is the "No No" song by Ringo Starr. That song is so fucking funny. Where he's talking about all the drugs that he doesn't do anymore.
I don't think I heard it. Hold on.
Yeah, I got this one on vinyl. It's so funny to me. Like I just bought it because the cover of it was hilarious to me. He's like leaving a spaceship, but like he's like waving to people, and he's got like a spacesuit on. He's like a UFO. So I was like, this is funny to me. So I bought it, and the No No song came on. I was like, this song is fantastic. I love this shit. A girl pulled out a 10-pound bag of cocaine, and he's like, I said, no, 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 I don't, no more. I'm tired of waking up on the floor. I said, no, thank you, please. It only makes me sneeze. It's such a funny song. 100, number 100 for the year. I didn't recognize the song. It wasn't that great of a song. Just love the name of the artist this is by. Disco Tex and his Sexolettes. That is such a fucking sick name for a group.
The album cover is fucking great too.
They had to have done well just because of his name, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
The song's whatever, but it's pretty cool. All right, let's get out of the Hot 100 and see what didn't chart.
All right. Right out of the Hot 100, got "Mamma Mia" by ABBA. That's surprising it didn't chart.
Yeah, that actually might be the most shocking one that I've seen that didn't chart for at a year end. I'm actually like
Yeah.
blown away by that. Because I mean, they did
Yeah.
well with other songs in other years, but this I cannot believe "Mamma Mia," their biggest song, they made fucking musicals and multiple movies about and shit like that, didn't hit the Hot 100 for any year end.
Yeah.
Pretty
Crazy.
wild. I did put a couple under that. There's "Sweet Emotion" by Aerosmith because "Toys in the Attic" came out this year, but nothing charted from it from for this year. There would this way chart 2 years later. It was like a real sleeper hit. So Walk This Way did end up charting eventually, but Sweet Emotion never ended up on a year-end Hot 100.
Damn. And that's one of their biggest songs.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Sweet Emotion's bigger just generally than Walk This Way is in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. And then right below that is a fun name for a great podcast. I mean, song. Wish You Were Here. And I got the shirt for it.
Oh, nice. Hey, have a cigar
I
to
got them all on
celebrate.
here, but that's also right.
Number 83 on our list is one of my favorite songs of all time. White Punks on Dope by the Tubes. This whole album is fantastic. They're a super fucking sick band. Like, did really crazy live shows and stuff. I've watched some of them on YouTube and just like the production values and stuff they put into it. Like, they made the whole live show an experience and like an art, like like an art installation kind of a deal. This whole album is fantastic. I got this one on vinyl as well. And yeah, if you haven't heard of the Tubes, they have that one song, "She's a Beauty." That's like their most popular one. It's way out of like their wheelhouse. Typically, it's kind of after they got into more poppy stuff later on and got more commercially successful. Their first album, the Tubes, is super avant garde, really crazy stuff. I love that album.
One of my favorite songs of all time that's on here is Time Warp off of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I fucking love that. That song gets me like hyped. Like it's so much fun.
The entire soundtrack to this movie is phenomenal. It's all like completely listenable music on its own, apart from being in this incredible, weird, wacky movie that I love so much. The music itself is fantastic. This is one of my favorite karaoke songs, especially around Halloween time. But the whole soundtrack is great. Like I could have put on science fiction double feature. Like any of the songs would have been great, but this is definitely the most recognizable one. And then our very last song is another one of these people who are concerning themselves with the movie of the year. Number 88 on our list is Mr. Jaws by Dickie Goodman. We mentioned him once on the show before in the 50s. He had the song about the flying saucer where it like is just this, it's almost like a Weird Al sort of a thing. It's like a comedy song. The guy does like a fake news report.
Yeah, the song's called The Flying Saucer. It came out in 1956.
In this case, he's talking about like the beach attacks by a shark. And he asks like the shark in the beginning, he asks him like, "Hey, you just ate a lady. How was it?" He's like, "Dynamite," like from one of the songs on the Hot 100. It's called Dynamite. And like they just cut out the little bits of audio from different songs and splice them into this fake news report. And it's fucking hilarious. Dickie Goodman, like he should be way more well known. It was a really cool idea. I thought it was really sick. I like the 50s one. It's cool that he'd been doing this shit for like 20 years. And yeah, this one's another hit from Dickie, in my opinion. Sad to see it not on the year end Hot 100 list, but it's on our list, and that's all that matters, right? Well, speaking of Mr. Jaws, as Dickie Goodman was, let's go ahead and turn our attention to the movie of the year. We're going to walk one more door next door into the theater. Crazy setup this town has. You just go one door to the next, and you're somehow following the format of our show. Isn't that fortuitous? I'd say so. Number one movie of the year in 1975. If you haven't guessed it yet, if we haven't dropped enough hints, the number one movie was Jaws. Came out on June 20th of 1975, directed by Steven Spielberg. It was based on the novel by Peter Benchley, and Peter Benchley had a hand in writing the screenplay for this, as well as Carl Gottlieb. It starred Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss. All three guys have R's for first names. Never picked up on that till now. The budget was somewhere between 6 and 9 million. About 7 is where a lot of people pin it down at. The gross was it's probably about $200 million. It's hard to nail down grosses for older movies. The theater rentals, like the amount the theater paid to the studio to show the movie, was $123 million throughout 1975. Typically, you just about double that to get your box office totals, but again, couldn't nail down an exact figure on that. The synopsis here, it comes from Amblin.com. It's Steven Spielberg's production company. He didn't actually produce this one himself, but they obviously have the information on there because it's one of his biggest films. When the seaside community of Amity finds itself under attack from a great white shark, Martin Brody, the town's chief of police, Matt Hooper, a young marine biologist, and Quint, a grizzled shark hunter, embark on a desperate quest to destroy the beast before it kills again. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. I fucking love this movie. It's like a huge part of my life growing up because my mom also really loves this movie. So we've seen it together a million times. We go and see it in theaters sometimes together. And anytime it's playing, really, if we can ever find it, we're like, oh, Jaws is playing. We'll go run over and watch it or just randomly pop it on. I've said this movie's always playing somewhere, it feels like. I actually, the other night at work at this bar I was at, it was playing on the TV screens in there. So I kind of just got to watch parts of it without the sound on. And it was just like, man, that's crazy. I've never actually just like encountered one of our movies of the week in the wild like that. So that was pretty neat. And especially because it's one of my favorites. This movie is so important to me that I'm wearing this shirt today. Got Jaws on it. It says Jaws, and then it's got Bruce. That's the actual name of the shark, at least as far as the set was concerned. He's not named in the movie.
I never watched it as a kid, but I watched it probably only a handful of times. I will really love this movie, especially after watching it this time. It was like, this is such a good like horror movie.
Now, this movie, I've always heard people talk about how this is sort of like set the template for blockbusters and like kind of helped define what a summer blockbuster was and changed the game in so many ways. But I didn't actually know how exactly that was. I just thought it was because it was so successful or whatever. But one of the things that was so unique about this movie was they actually released it to 409 screens in the US, which was like a very, very uncommonly large number of movie theaters to show this at for its opening, which nowadays that's a pretty minuscule number. But yeah, this was not how things were done back then. Like the conventional wisdom said to release it at a couple theaters at a time and then let word of mouth, positive reviews, that kind of stuff drive people to go see this film. And so then it would have like a bunch of little mini premieres around the country. It was almost like a traveling show or something like that. And actually, like the more screens a movie went into back then for its release, it kind of told someone that this was going to be a shittier movie. Like they would kind of dump their movies they figured were going to underperform, the movies that they knew weren't that great. They'd put them into a ton of theaters. So that way, negative reviews and negative word of mouth wouldn't reach enough audiences to tell them not to go see this movie. Everyone would just have the equal opportunity to all see it once. So you get like one round of ticket sales and then everyone would be like, that was a stinker, and no one else would go see it. So yeah, there was this very backwards way of thinking back then. Yeah, so this coming out in so many theaters. It was actually supposed to come out in about twice as many theaters. It was going to be about 900, but then the head of Universal watched it, and he was like, no, I think we got a hit on our hands. We got to cut that number way down. He was quoted as saying, I want the people in Palm Desert not to be able to see this movie in Palm Desert. I want them to feel like they have to drive to Hollywood to go see it. Yeah, much different than how we view things today, I would say. It makes sense to me to put it out into as many theaters as possible. It's just not the way things were done back then. Also, the fact that it came out in the summer was a little unheard of, too. Summer was the time where movies sort of went to die because typically people would go play outside during the summer. Like they weren't going into movie theaters back then. And so this one actually was supposed to come out in the winter, but the production ran so damn long because there were so many snags in the production, so many things that made it take so much longer than it was supposed to, that they ended up having to push it all the way out to June.
And this came out like right before the 4th of July too, so it was like good timing for them.
And then basically it coming out in the summer, all these different theaters doing so damn well. First movie to ever hit 100 million at the box office. Most successful movie in history up until this point. That's what people mean when they say this is the prototypical summer blockbuster. Everyone went, "Whoa, you can do that?" And so people started to release their movies like that. This movie, like I said, had a ton of crazy shit happen in the production of it. One thing I thought was funny was that Spielberg actually was not the first director hired to make this movie. The first director was named Dick Richards, which is a hilarious name. His real name was Richard Richards. But when they had like a meeting with him, he kept calling it a whale. And so they dropped him because of that. They're like, we're not dealing with this guy who can't get the fucking difference between a whale and a shark down. So we don't
Or
think he's the
like
right guy.
doesn't really want to use a shark, like and told him to say it, you know.
Yeah, maybe he would have gone forward and just been like, well, I told you it was going to be a whale, you know? They're trying to do Moby Dick or something like that.
Yeah.
Peter Benchley, the author of the novel, he wrote the first 3 drafts of the movie, but couldn't nail it down right. Like they changed a lot from the novel to the movie. Like basically, Spielberg wanted to jettison the first 2 acts of the novel and only really keep the third act, like where they're in the boat. All the stuff on land, pretty much, he had rewritten. Uh, Benchley couldn't really do it, so they got Peter Gottlieb, who was working on The Odd Couple, the sitcom, because Spielberg wanted there to be more humor and levity in the script. One thing he kept saying was that in the original cut of it, he like was rooting for the shark because he just hated the characters in it, all the people so much. And a lot of the script was rewritten the night before a shoot would occur. So every scene was basically hammered out the day before.
Damn.
Crazy they were able to nail it so well.
Yeah.
Some of the casting stuff, Peter Benchley was hoping to get Robert Redford, Paul Newman, and Steve McQueen in the main roles of the movie.
That would have been a different movie.
Yeah, wildly different, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been interesting. It's interesting to think of how it would have been, but it would have been much more of an adventure story. It would have just not been the same thing. It lacked the everyman quality that Spielberg wanted. He wanted these to be people that you felt like were real and just regular folks. They weren't like super well-known actors. They were, decently known, but they weren't like household names. And he thought, like, if we cast these stars in it, everyone's going to know the outcome of this movie. You know what I mean? These are heroes. These guys play the winners in movies. So we're not like wondering, oh, is Robert Redford going to be able to kill the shark? We know he's going to be able to,
Yeah.
The first person who was offered the role of Chief Brody was Robert Duvall, actually.
Oh, okay.
But he wasn't interested in that character. He wanted to play Quint. But they said he was too young to play Quint, so he's just like out of the movie at that point. So yeah, he's famous for being Sonny in The Godfather. And just to go back to my earlier point about the movie releases, The Godfather, when it was released, only was released to 5 theaters.
Damn, what the fuck?
Right? Isn't that so? Yeah, that's like that wasn't a hugely successful movie.
Crazy.
Yeah, so that was how the idea was for how to release movies back then. So this is what changed that. Yeah, wild. Steven Spielberg was hoping for John Voight to play Matt Hooper. That would have also been a different movie. It was Robert Duvall and John Voight. That'd be kind of interesting too, huh?
Yeah, for sure. You know what's funny is I feel like Robert Shaw's character, Quint, the mayor is in this way more than he is. I thought he would be the the third person named in the top 3 actors, but he's really not.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. I mean, Quint is just such a good character,
Yeah, and very obviously important to the storyline, but
yeah,
I just feel like as far as like screen time goes,
And the mayor is also equally as important, really. I mean, he's like the driving force of the movie for so much of it. It's so cool the way the movie is set up that like the whole first part of it, you're on land and that's like a whole movie and it like works in the way that they're doing, that they're like fucking like the whole conflict is about keeping the beach open or not. And like the mayor's kind of the villain, but not really still. And then this whole second part of it, they're on sea and it feels like a whole other movie. It's almost like the sequel to Jaws. Like now they're out there shark hunting. And it's like in your mind, you can get it that the movie's either one or the other. And it's kind of easy to forget that the other part of it exists,
Yeah, for sure.
It was like really well done for being cobbled together quickly and hastily. One of the funny things I read about the movie was that the producers initially were hoping to train a great white shark. to be a
Yes,
part of
that
this
would have been
movie.
fucking awesome.
And then very quickly realized that was not something that's possible to do. So then they had to go through a ton of work to like make a mechanical shark that famously the shark malfunctioned constantly. The salt water really fucked it up. They tested it at Universal Studios in a tank where it's freshwater and it performed well. So then when they took it out to the actual ocean, which that was wild. Steven Spielberg shot this in the real ocean.
That is wild as fuck.
Because the ocean there goes out 12 miles and only gets 35 feet deep. So they were able to set up everything they needed to get the shark working out there, but they still are in the ocean. So it's just like, damn, that's fucking insane. And he has said since then, like, that was a crazy idea. I was just young and foolhardy, basically, and thought I could control Mother Nature, which obviously I couldn't. Like, their shoot was super delayed. He said they would work 12 hours a day and only actually be shooting for 4 hours because of how much they had to, reset and, fucking the shark would flip over and sink to the bottom of the ocean. They'd have to go and get it and bring it back up. Shit like that happened all the time. But that's why the shark is barely in the movie. It was supposed to be on screen all the time. But because it kept malfunctioning, he had to come up with different ways of showing what it was doing without showing it. And that made the movie 10 times better because there's suspense now that's built in.
Yeah,
He said it
and
kind of,
scarier for sure.
yeah, anytime that it pops up, you're like, fuck, there it is. Like, go back in the water, please. All the scares in it, it's pretty sparing with like scary moments, like or jump scares, shit like that. But the part where they're searching Ben Gardner's boat when Hooper's down there
Oh
at
yeah,
nighttime and it, like his head pops out. That shit, I've seen it in theaters, Jaws, a couple times, and every time it's like I know that shit's coming. I've seen this movie enough times, and every time I'm like, ah! It still always catches me off guard every time. And he actually like went back and shot that scene later because he wanted to add another jump scare into it. And so they filmed it in a swimming pool, in the editor's swimming pool, and put a black tarp over it and filled the water with powdered milk to give it like murky qualities.
oh that's cool.
So yeah, the rest of it shot in the ocean. That part shot in a swimming pool. Like that's none of that's how you should have made this movie, Steven. You should have just done it on a fucking soundstage and would have been way easier. But it's again effective as hell. It like is it's such a good movie, man. Like just the whole time you're on the boat, you're like, fuck, get off the boat, like go back home. And then
Yeah, then he like breaks the radio and shit, and you're like, dude,
yeah, I
what?
know. His Captain Ahab moment.
Yeah,
It's the part where he is like trying to outrun the shark, and Hooper's like, don't push it too hard, and then Quint turns up the boat, for like no reason at
yeah.
that point. My mom turned to me and she went, Quint is such an asshole. My mom never cusses, so it's like super funny. I was like, you've seen this movie a million times. It's funny that she's still so impassioned by the fact that she just like, oh, I can't stand that man. You remember the part where he's like, I don't think this is the time for you to be cutting open that shark's stomach, and I don't want to see the little Kintner boy spilled out all over the dock.
Yeah.
So how many little Kintner boys spilled out on the docks will you give Jaws out of 1,975?
Jeez, I'm gonna give this a solid 1,800 little Kinder boys.
I'm going to give this one. You know what? I'm going to go crazy on this one. I'm going to give this one 1,880 little Kintner boys spilled out on the dock. I loved it. I was debating going higher. Actually, I don't know why I didn't go higher, but you know what? Can't change it now. So I think it's fantastic. So again, actually, as far as I can remember, this is my favorite one we've done.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Have we have a 10 out of 10? I don't think we've had an actual like.
No, the closest was Gushers. I almost gave this one. I was gonna say 1,900, and for some reason, I just got nervous. I just didn't do it. But now I'm like, what would I give a full solid score to? I don't know. I mean, really, this is one of the movies that is one of my favorites. So I should have rated it higher. I'm gonna regret that the rest of my life. If only I had a time machine.
Only if only.
Let's talk about what else happened in the world of movies before we get out of here. Well, the one of the biggest ones that I have seen before from this year is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Great movie.
That one's pretty good. Jack Nicholson.
Movie.
A lot of really cool actors in that one, actually. Like Danny DeVito. There's like a bunch of people who are just sort of in that,
Yeah, yeah.
Vincent Schiavelli. It was like a cool cast in that movie. I like it a lot. I thought it was really good, but it's also like a lot of just people yelling, just yelling at each other back and forth. It's kind of like a rough watch, you know. It's not one I like love to revisit, but I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a really long time, so maybe I would feel the same way.
I've only seen it once. I watched it for the first time a couple of years ago.
Another movie that I've seen a bunch out of this year is Monty Python's Holy Grail.
Awesome, fantastic. Actually, I probably have seen that more than I've seen Jaws. Actually,
I've definitely seen that more than any other movie this year.
yeah, it's probably my most seen. It's definitely between that. Actually, there's three that I've seen a ton, and that's one of them. Jaws, I've seen a million times, but Monty Python is. I mean, it was like a formative part of my personality when I was a little kid. You know, they were just like it was like really big with like kids back then. I think like it was still not that old of a movie back when we were kids. So it was sort of something like your parents told you about, or like cool like uncle or something like that. You never seen Monty Python, and just like everybody all the time would be quoting that movie. We are the knights who
Yeah,
say knee. There's just like a million fucking. I love. I still love that movie. Every time I watch it, I'm like, this is exactly as funny as I remember it being. Like it loses no shine as the years go on, in my opinion. The other one that I've seen the most from this year is the aforementioned Rocky Horror Picture Show. I fucking love that movie and I've seen it so many times.
yeah, it's a great movie.
Tim Curry is just out of this world in that movie. He is so fucking amazing. It's such a great movie. Just that's also just like fits so well with my fucking sensibilities. It's fucking weird as hell. It's kind of a horror movie. It's got music in it that's really cool. It's just like perfect for me. A couple that I've seen that are pretty dope are Death Race 2000. That movie's fucking sick. It's a pre-Rocky Sylvester Stallone and David Carradine from Kung Fu. Another Kung Fu thing.
Oh, okay.
And they remade this movie with Statham, in the 2000s. They took out the year 2000 from it because this takes place in the distant future. That's like the year
Yeah, yeah.
2000, and like there's this race that like I think it's that prisoners win their freedom, or it's just like, or you win a bunch of money. I think no, I'm confusing it with Running Man. Yeah, super cool movie though. I love that one. I haven't seen it in a while, but one that I watched for the first time this year that I'd never seen the remake of Death Race, but I had seen the remake of Rollerball, and the remake's pretty bad. So I watched the original this year. Another Godfather tie-in guy here, James Caan. Can't remember who he plays Sonny. Robert Duvall plays Hogan. Is that his name? The consigliere.
Not Hogan. Tom?
Yeah, Tom. It's not Tom Hogan.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, anyway, yeah, James Caan plays Sonny. So yeah, he's the star of Rollerball, and it's also like a dystopian future where like there's this super violent sport of rollerball, which is just like a roller derby, but with like you have a metal ball that you're trying to like make in the hoop, and like people die in it all the time. It's like a cool movie, very very cool. It was pretty sick. I liked it a lot, way better than the remake. And then another one I watched for the first time this week was the another one that I've seen the remake of, but never the original, The Stepford Wives.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even know that that was in a remake.
Yeah, the remake's kind of hokey and sort of silly and stuff. It's a Frank Oz movie. It's very weird that this was the original. The original ones are like a straight up horror movie,
Oh,
which I mean you
shit.
could
Okay.
make sense, right? Like it's the idea of people being taken over, and it's really good. Like the wife is like moves to it's way more centered on her. She's like trying to figure out what's going on with everybody. It's like the 70s is like kind of the height of a new feminist movement, so it's a lot of like this there's a direct reason for all this shit to be going on, and like these guys are not happy with the way their wives are being so independent, and then they start like, what's going on? How are they being replaced? It's a pretty good movie. I liked it. It's got a little bit slow, but it was good. I liked it.
Okay.
And really, the only kids movies I could find were again one that I've seen the remake but never the original. Escape from Witch Mountain. I don't think I've ever seen the old version of that. And then the Apple Dumpling Gang is another one that I've seen like on Disney Plus a lot. It's got Don Knotts in it. And I'm always like, what a funny name for a movie. It's got Don Knotts, big old goofy face on it. The Apple Dumpling Gang. But I've never watched it.
The Return of the Pink Panther. I've seen that before. I was
Okay.
like,
I've never
like
seen any of
a,
the classic Pink Panthers.
I think I watched it on TV or something as a kid.
I've only seen the Steve Martin one. Another one I've seen the fucking remake of, but never the. It's funny how often I think of that movie. Anytime I say hamburger, I'll be like, "The burger."
Hamburger.
So fucking what a dumb. See, he's like in pain. The burger. Not too many other movies really from this year that were super big and
No.
well known. Oh, Dog Day Afternoon. Never saw that one, but another guy from The Godfather, Pacino.
Mhm.
I've got to see that one. It just wasn't streaming anywhere. That's the other one that I really wanted to watch and didn't get a chance to. Dog Day Afternoon. But if there's any other movies out there that you at home feel like we missed out on, should have said, didn't say, let us know in the comments wherever you feel fit to do so. If you see us out in the streets, yell at it in our face. How did you fools miss The Man Who Would Be King? Whatever the fuck you love from 1975. Tell us about it. Yeah, so I mean, not a very strong year of movies, but a lot of great music from this year. A lot of really really great music, and the movies that did come out were fucking great. A couple of them, like some of these are like I said, are super
Yeah.
formative to me. So, and the TV shows. I mean, this was a cool year all in all. I think that we're gonna have our work cut out for us where we decide what is the one thing that we are both gonna save from the year 1975.
It's a hard one.
I'm so torn between the three movies I mentioned that I love so much, Monty Python, Jaws, and Rocky Horror, that I'm going to totally just call an audible here and go out of left field. I'm saving Miller Lite. It's Miller time, baby.
There you go. Hell yeah.
Take the responsibility off
it.
my shoulders. Now from now, anytime I think, I don't have my favorite movies anymore, crack open a cold one. We've never saved a beer.
Yeah, that's true. Damn. I haven't had anything to drink this entire time.
It's definitely my favorite of the like shitty light beers out there,
Yeah, it's up there.
It's so much better. I hate Coors Light now. I cannot stand Budweiser. I think Budweiser's terrible in its light form or its regular form. Coors Light kind of tastes like nothing. Miller Lite tastes like beer.
That's true.
It actually has beer flavor. Miller Lite's pleasantly crisp. Since I've gotten out of drinking IPAs, I like my beer to taste like kind of like nothing, a little hint of beer flavor, and a lot of bubbles. And Miller Lite hits all those boxes right. You can drink like 5 of them without getting bogged down.
It's gonna be a hard choice for this one, but I am going to save the Mothership Connection album by Parliament.
Wow, okay. That's another left field choice.
Yeah, we're going left field all day.
This is a cool one. 1975 is a fun year. We're having a lot of fun drinking Miller Lite and listening to some funk music. I like it. Yeah, Give Up the Funk by Parliament did not chart at all. So that's in our boneyard at the bottom. That's a new word for that. The boneyard. I like that.
Hell yeah.
You're going to the boneyard with Parliament.
Skip all the top 100 shit. Go to the boneyard.
Hell yeah. Meet me in the boneyard. Top 5 was dry this week. I'll see you in the boneyard. All right, cool. I'm actually pretty happy with those two things. Truth be told, there were a lot of movies that I wish I'd saved or music that I wish I could have saved. I'm happy with my choice of Miller Lite, but when I look at the empty spaces of my record collection now, because all those records that I own have disappeared, the Tubes, Janis Ian, I know I'll be thinking back to 1975 and thinking what I know Mark is thinking, that we wish we were then.
Wish we were then.